In London tonight, a mother slams politicians after her 14-year-old son is beaten into a coma for his iPod. And survival from the Blitz, a pensioner's thank you to the hospital that saved her life 70 years ago. Good evening, I'm Donald McIntyre. First, a mother's anger over the vicious attack that put her teenage son into a coma. When a gang demanded that Tyler Malloy hand over his iPod and mobile, he did so not wanting any trouble. But he was still subjected to a brutal and prolonged attack as he lay on the ground defenceless. His mother says politicians simply aren't doing enough to make our streets safe. Ronke Phillips has this report.
This is the vision which greeted Jerry Malloy 2 weeks ago. Her youngest son, unconscious and connected to a life support machine. She had no idea if he would live or die.
Only a mother would know how you feel seeing your son, an innocent boy, lying there half dead. Just remember standing over him and just hoping he'd wake up.
This afternoon, Jerry Malloy told me how her 14-year-old son was attacked by up to 10 youths in a children's playground in Fursdown, a residential area between Streatham and Tooting. He told them he didn't want any trouble, and when they demanded his iPod and mobile phone, he handed them over. But the gang weren't satisfied with their ill-gotten gains and decided to beat him up anyway.
The main boy knocked him out, and the rest just jumped him, kicked him, stamped on him like he was nothing. Sorry.
That was up to 10 boys.
10 boys,
your
yeah.
Son when he was lying on the floor.
Yeah, I wouldn't even say boys, I'd say animals, coward animals. They attacked him like a pack of hyenas.
As Tyler lay unconscious, the ruthless gang even robbed him of his jacket. The attackers were no more than 15 years old, and Jerry wants to know how it is they can take the gadgets they stole from her son home without their parents wanting to know where they came from.
Can you imagine how they would feel if it was their son lying there? They're sick. I mean, what parent would just allow that? I know if my sons were like that, which they're not, thank God, I would phone the police.
And I know you have that message for the parents, but you also have a message for the politicians, all politicians of whatever party.
Absolutely. This is a very important week for them. I haven't seen one politician. They're so good at shaking hands in posh places. They need to see what's on our streets.
And this is what the streets did to Tyler Malloy. Luckily, he is now on the mend, but the mental scars will take longer to heal. Ronke Phillips, London Tonight.
Some other headlines now. And 3 teenagers accused of kicking a gay man to death in Trafalgar Square joked about it on Facebook, the Old Bailey heard today. Ian Bainham died almost 3 weeks later last year. It's alleged 18-year-old Ruby Thomas hurled homophobic abuse and that she and co-accused Rachel Burke stamped on their victim. 19-year-old Joel Alexander had allegedly punched him to the ground first. All deny manslaughter and violent disorder charges. A woman in her 80s was killed after a fire ripped through a sheltered accommodation block near Croydon last night. 42 other elderly residents were evacuated from Edward Jobson Court in Addiscombe. The cause of the fire is under investigation. And the owners of London's O2 Arena have revealed they're bidding to take over the Olympic Stadium after the 2012 Games. AEG is one of the 106 parties who've expressed an interest. The American company has turned the failing Millennium Dome into a successful concert venue. And we end tonight with a word of thanks from Doris Lacey, who was just 25 when her father's factory was bombed in the Blitz. Miraculously, she survived. Doris was rushed to the Royal London Hospital where she was nursed back to health. Today, 70 years later, 95-year-old Doris returned to the hospital that saved her life. Marcus Powell reports.
Doris Lacey's never been back to the London hospital since staff there saved her life 70 years ago. She was carried here on a stretcher like this after her father's factory nearby was bombed by the Luftwaffe in 1940. Today she brought her thanks and a donation for the hospital museum. A picture of the special stethoscope given by her surgeon to a military colonel to check on the unexploded German bombs in the hospital grounds.
My doctor was a great friend of mine. He came and visited me every morning and we became very friendly, and he was telling me that he'd going to give this stethoscope to the colonel who was listening to the bombs, see if they were alive or not. And I said, oh, I'd like a photograph of that. And I said, would you sign them? And he did, and that was it. And they put it in my album, and it's been there for 70 years.
In the Blitz, the hospital was hit by more than 100 bombs, incendiary devices, high explosives and doodlebugs, the notorious flying bombs. Not much of the hospital escaped the German bombers as they targeted the London docks and East End industry. But although many staff and patients were transferred to the country, accident and emergency and badly injured patients like Doris remained. She was there for 2 months as the bombs continued to rain down. Well, Doris Lacey's family ran a factory here in Hannibal Road. It's just 400 yards from the London hospital. This entire area was blitzed by German bombs during the war as they changed from manufacturing gentlemen's suits to military uniforms. 20 of their workers were killed by a direct hit, but Doris and her father survived.
I was trying to do the wages. It was a Friday day, and it was wages day, but the siren went off at 9 o'clock in the morning, and there was shelter. We all went down into the shelter and got bored with that. Nothing happened, so up we came, and down came the bomb.
The hospital was visited by King George and Queen Elizabeth on September the 25th, 1940. Doris was recovering in a ward, while nurses slept in bomb shelters in the basement. On the day she was released, October the 9th, St Paul's Cathedral was itself bombarded. Doris now lives in Enfield, pleased that her memories have been shared with the hospital that saved her. Marcus Powell, London Tonight.
Doris there making all Londoners feel proud. Now here's the weather with Robin.
Tops Tiles, brightening your home, whatever the weather. Sponsors of the ITV London weekday weather.
Hello again. For tomorrow there'll be more cloud and a chance of the odd shower, but then by the weekend it turns cold and wet for all of us, I'm sorry to say. Overnight tonight initially dry with fairly clear skies, and then we do see a bit more cloud arriving from the northwest. Not as cold as last night, temperatures at lowest down to around 5 or 6 degrees. A generally dry start to things tomorrow morning. A lot of cloud, 1 or 2 bright interludes. Don't rule out the chance of 1 or 2 spots of rain here and there for some of us. And then for the afternoon it's a case of 1 or